The 1970s gave us some of the most beautiful cars ever made, and some that were seriously ugly. Number 18. 1970 AMC Gremlin. The Gremlin sold for two-thirds the price of most small cars, which makes sense because it looked like two-thirds of a car. Honestly, the Gremlin was a brilliant move by the company, cheap to make and perfect for the times. It was a big hit, at least by AMC standards. But did it have to be so ugly? AMC almost went with a shorter version of the Hornet. Design chief Dick Teague thought that one was even uglier, though since he approved the Gremlin, we're not sure we trust his taste. Number 17. 1970 Buick Riviera. The second-gen Buick Riviera was a stunner from 1966 to 1969, with sleek lines and hidden headlights. But then, things went south. It's hard to fully grasp how ugly this car is at first, probably because your mind tries to protect you from the horror. But if you stare at it long enough, sorry about that by the way, you'll see it. The grille looks like it's slipping off, the rear fenders are growing over the wheels like mold, and the whole thing is bloated like it's been underwater for too long. Sales were climbing in the late 60s, but they tanked when this monstrosity hit the market. Thankfully, it was replaced by the controversial but gorgeous boat-tail Riviera in 1971. Number 16. 1970 Ford Thunderbird. The late 60s T-Birds weren't exactly beauties, but they were at least inoffensive. Then 1970 rolled around and Ford slapped a giant beak on the front. Seriously, Ford? The emphasis should be on thunder, not bird. Number 15. 1970 Porsche 914. Designing a well-proportioned mid-engine car is tough, though we'd argue Chevy's finally nailed it. But the Porsche 914's weirdness goes beyond the vast space between the B-pillar and the rear wheel. There's just something about the 914, its awkwardly sloped greenhouse, super boxy body, and plain lines that makes it not only look dorky, but like it owns that dorkiness. Don't get us wrong, we love the 914, but we think a Porsche should look like the car you dream about, not the one you wake up to. Number 14. 1970 Saab Sonett III. The third-gen Sonett was designed with American buyers in mind. Apparently, someone told the Swedes that Americans love cars with massive front overhangs. That was a joke, Saab. A joke. Yet the Sonett showed up with this ridiculously long nose, made even worse by the big 5 mph bumper slapped on the front. And if the proportions weren't bad enough, the stretched-out front clashed with its awkwardly short tail. No wonder Americans didn't take Saab seriously until the 900 came along. Number 13. 1972 Subaru GL Coupe. Subaru, like other Japanese car makers, were making steady progress in the US market with smart, efficient, and practical small cars that were sensible, if not exactly stylish. So they decided to try stylish, and this is what they came up with. Ew. Our guess is that the Subaru GL was just a bit too long for the shipping crate, so they chopped 8 inches off the tail, slapped on a bumper and tail lights, and called it a day. Number 12. 1973 Leyland P76. Just so you don't think British Leyland only made life miserable for Brits, the P76 is proof that this infamous car company spread despair to the farthest corners of the Commonwealth. The P76 was a big car made by Leyland Australia, and it seems the design goal was to squash any lingering desire to reform the empire. Its wedge shape lets the trunk fit a 44-gallon drum, ideally full of something flammable. Besides being ugly, the P76 was built with all the care and quality Leyland was famous for. In other words, none. And after 2 years and just 18,000 sales, the P76 was history. Number 11. 1973 Reliant Robin. Three-wheelers don't have to be ugly, but most are. The problem with the Reliant Robin isn't just that it's ugly, it's desperate. Even its predecessor, the ironically named Reliant Regal, managed a tiny bit of visual dignity, but the Robin looks like the car you buy when you can't afford a real car. Austere, goggle-eyed, and shamelessly content in its subcar status, the Robin seems to be begging for any scrap of affection, which we feel totally justified in withholding. Number 10. 1974 Bricklin SV-1. Malcolm Bricklin is the guy who brought the Subaru 360 and the Yugo to American buyers. And if that's not proof of malicious intent, we don't know what is. His one attempt at making his own car was the Plastic Fantastic Safety Vehicle 1, and it was terrible in so many ways, including visually. It had massive bumpers front and rear, gun-slit windows, and those ridiculously 1970s turbine vane wheels that belong on a Chevy van with Shaggin' Wagon painted on the side. The assembly quality was awful. Body panels warped before they were even attached, the hidden headlights stayed hidden, and the cars leaked like they were made of cheesecloth. The 90-pound gull-wing doors would bend or break under their hydraulic actuators, if they open at all that is, since the buggy electrical system often trapped owners inside. Ugly to look at and ugly to own, that was the Bricklin SV-1. Number 9. 1974 Sebring-Vanguard CitiCar. If you've ever wondered how electric cars got a reputation as glorified golf carts, here's why. The CitiCar, the brainchild, or brain fart, of Sebring-Vanguard, literally was a glorified golf cart. It started with a 2.5 horsepower motor, later upgraded to a whopping 6 horsepower, and had a wheel chalk-shaped body that must have cost tens of dollars to design. It had a 40-mile range and could accelerate to 60 miles per hour in 6.2 seconds. Wait, sorry, that's how long it took to hit 25 miles per hour, which was 3 miles per hour shy of the original version's top speed. In the late 70s, a company called Commuter Vehicles bought the design, renamed it the Commuta-Car, and added the ridiculous bumper extension you see here. We're not sure why, as it was an inherently unsafe car. Every time someone got in, they risked dying of embarrassment. Number 8. 1974 Ford Mustang II, Ghia. Let's skip the debate about whether the downsized Mustang II was a stroke of genius or a national tragedy. That's a conversation for another day. Sure, the Mustang II looked a bit silly, but the real visual crime was the luxury-themed Ghia model, a victim of Ford's belief that any car could be improved with Opera windows. Shrinking the Stang was one thing, but trying to give it a luxury vibe with a padded vinyl formal roof and color-keyed bumpers was just wrong. And did they really think we wouldn't notice the hubcaps were swiped from the Granada? Come on. The Mustang II sold well, but we think it was in spite of the Mustang Ghia, not because of it. Number 7. 1974 Vanden Plas 1500. The Detroit 3 rightly caught flack throughout the 1970s and 80s for badge engineering, taking a lousy car and slapping a fancy grille on it, pretending it's something special. But British Leyland took this to an entirely new level, turning it into an art form, if your definition of art involves spreading feces on canvas. Take the Vanden Plas 1500, for example. Based on the woeful Austin Allegro, it boasted a stand-up chrome grille, real leather seats, plush carpeting, and fold-down walnut tables for the back seats. Presumably so the owner could enjoy a comfy lunch while waiting for the tow truck. And for this, BL charged nearly double the price of the Allegro. Clearly, their target buyer was someone who looked at a Jaguar XJ6 and thought, lovely, but have you got something smaller and crappier? Number 6. 1975 AMC Pacer. The Pacer, first wide small car. AMC's idea might have inspired some cute commercials, but it also resulted in a seriously unattractive car. The Pacer's massive glass area was supposed to improve visibility for drivers, but instead, it made them feel like goldfish boiling in their own bowl. And those taillights in the back, they looked like they were frosted with a cake spatula. In 1978, the Pacer got even uglier, as shown in our photo here. AMC added a bulging hood and stand-up grille to make room for the new optional V8, an attempt to give the Pacer the power it needed to move all that heavy glass. And forget about fuel economy, since the cast-iron 6-cylinder engines were already gas guzzlers. Poorly thought out and poorly executed, the Pacer was a car for dorks before dorks were cool. Number 5. 1975 British Leyland Princess. The Princess is yet another blunder from across the Atlantic. Initially launched under the Austin Morris and Wolseley brands, the car eventually became its own mark, probably because none of the existing BL brands wanted to be associated with it. The Princess was an awkward, wedge-shaped car that gave the impression of being a hatchback, except it wasn't. One had to access the limited trunk space through a tiny lid. That made it not just unattractive, but also impractical and unreliable. Shortly after the Princess was introduced, British Leyland collapsed and had to be nationalized. Anyone surprised? Number 4. 1977 Datsun 200SX. By the late 1970s, Datsun, later Nissan, had built a solid reputation in the United States with practical economy cars like the V210 and the 510, and fantastic sports cars like the 240Z, and then came the 200SX. This rear-wheel drive sports coupe boasted a 2-liter engine and a grille that seemed inspired by an electric shaver. Surprisingly, there weren't many complaints about the C-pillar obstructing rear visibility, probably because there weren't many buyers to begin with. The 200SX was too slow to be sporty and too thirsty to be economical. Its true talent? Rusting at an impressive speed and with great enthusiasm, leaving few survivors to assault our eyes today. Number 3. 1977 Leata Cabalero. The Chevrolet Chevette was a sorry excuse for a car. slow, noisy, and utterly miserable, but at least it wasn't tragically ugly. That is until Mr. Donald E. Steinbach of Port Falls, Idaho decided to change that. He slapped on 350 pounds of Bondo and fiberglass, attempting to give his Franken-car styling cues from the first-generation Monte Carlo, and then resold it for nearly double the Chevette's price. Remarkably, he managed to produce almost 100 of these monstrosities, including a few El Camino-inspired pickup trucks that, if you can believe it, looked even more absurd. Apparently, he named the car after his wife. Grounds for divorce, if you ask us. Though why he combined that with a misspelling of the Spanish word for gentleman is beyond comprehension. Mr. Steinbach apparently lost a fortune on the whole venture, so I guess there's some justice in the world. Number 2. 1977 Volvo 262C. According to Hemmings, when Henry IV II visited Volvo's advanced Kalmar plant in Sweden, his team brought along a fleet of Lincoln Continental Mark IVs to drive around. The Swedes were apparently so impressed that they decided to create their own version, a decision that resulted in a rather foolish car. Legend has it that Volvo skipped the clay model phase, which might have been a good idea in hindsight. Instead, they sent perfectly fine 262 GL Coupes to Bertone in Italy, where they chopped 2.6 inches from the roofline, rendering the car unusable for anyone over 6 feet tall. Astonishingly, over 6,600 of these were produced over a 5-year period. It seems there are quite a few vertically challenged individuals out there with questionable taste. Number 1. 1978 Buick Century Oldsmobile Cutlass Aeroback. When it was time to downsize its successful mid-size cars, General Motors thought the Buick Century and Oldsmobile Cutlass should have a European flair. And what's more European than a hatchback? Well, the results were as expected. Pretty dreadful. Technically, the Aeroback cars weren't hatchbacks, as they had a regular trunk lid, but consumers didn't bother to complain because they were too busy not buying them. GM was so sure about the design that it didn't even offer a traditional sedan version. Sales plummeted, but didn't completely die out thanks to the conventional wagon and rather attractive coupe. GM hurriedly introduced a proper sedan for 1980, although for reasons that defy explanation, the two-door Aeroback stuck around until 1981. If you've ever wondered why GM styling was so uninspired throughout the 1980s, well, now you have your answer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And remember to hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. Also, leave a comment down below letting us know what you thought of this video. Your feedback helps us improve. Until next time, take care and see you in the next one.